All right. Shalom, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. Hopefully all is well with everybody. Everybody's doing well. We are back in action after a little hiatus as far as our special sessions. So we'll be on for a little bit. Oh, sorry.
No, I was saying I decided Sister Sherry. I called her Ava.
Oh yeah, her thing has changed. Yeah. But yep. So we'll go ahead. We won't be before you too long, but we'll go ahead and get started. And I guess we'll get started with prayer. I don't know. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's message. Aman. Barakallah Sham Yahweh. Anai Kofi at Maya at Servants of Christ. Mashallah. Hello, everybody. We are here together again, and we are where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And it was first special session of this year, first in a little while, and really not a continuation of what we've been talking about, but we've had Elder Maya on Saturdays for a while now, so it's kind of a regular thing. At least for a minute, but we're thankful and grateful to have everybody on with us. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining us tonight on TikTok, on YouTube. Matter of fact, let me see if I can share it in a couple places while we're on, or at least one or two places while we're on.
Shalom, Master Tamara.
Hopefully everybody will be able to join us. Let's see. And thank you guys again for being on. Appreciate you so very much. Oh, there we go. That'll work. So hopefully all is well with everybody, no matter where you are. Oh, it went off.
No, Brother Charlie.
I didn't know.
Oh, it went off.
When I shared it. And it'll bring it back on in a second. There we go. So you said shalom to somebody. What it was
Brother Charlie and Minister Tamara.
Okay.
Shalom.
Amen. Shalom. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing on YouTube as well? Sister Snat, Joy, Minister Jenny, everybody. So tonight we were just going to kind of jump in and have a quick conversation regarding, I guess we're going to kind of like hammer out the details in the conversation, but basically something along the lines of what, well, I don't want to speak for you per se, but kind of I think we've gotten in the place of kind of what to expect or what to be prepared for as far as a relationship, or when you meet up with somebody, kind of like, because we were steering away from, obviously we don't do dating, but at the same time, if you were to meet up with somebody, I guess what are some things to look forward to, what are some things you should stand on for yourself? So we're kind of working out the details on the spot a little bit, but I think I'm in the ballpark, right? Mm-hmm. We didn't really officially have a title yet per se, which is probably reflective in the title that we've given on YouTube, and I think on TikTok it still says Watch Party. But so kind of reflective of that. We don't really 100% have a title, but you guys kind of get the direction we're headed in. So if you guys want to help out with maybe some Q&A questions, comments, and concerns, we actually, like we oftentimes solicit, prayers, help, questions, comments, concerns, etc. But we could definitely use them tonight. But we're kind of, I don't know, like we're so I was kind of thinking in the marriage like direction, and then when you were thinking about, you were kind of thinking like relationship, and so like kind of what led you towards that.
So we're in the Dollar Tree just now. There was this little guy, and he was like, "I like your hair," and I was like, "Okay, thank you." And he goes, "Could you make my hair look like that?" And he was European, so I was I burst out laughing. I wasn't trying to laugh at him, and then I guess he saw that as like a cue to talk to me. And then he goes, "Are you new to the area?" And I'm like, "No, I don't live here." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm just trying to meet someone. Are you trying to meet someone?" I was like, "No, I'm not." So that's what made me think of. I was like feeling bad for him, like people are out here trying to meet people.
I didn't know any of this until the second, so that's why I'm a little irritated at the second, but I'm gonna hold my peace a little bit. That's okay. Hey man, my wife is beautiful, so I guess people would talk to my wife, of course. No, I'm just messing around, but yeah. So that's kind of what got you to start thinking about.
Yeah, because I'm like, how do people meet people? Like, it's probably hard to just meet people, especially when you have standards and like, beliefs, things that you are important to you.
Oh, so yeah, so it's a very great question. I mean, for me, I think so. Once again, this is part of the thing that's problematic. We're so scattered, and we should be doing a lot of stuff together. I think it helps the fact that we at least have some kind of community, even if it's still mostly virtual at this moment in time. Even though it's something we're trying to remedy, we need help with that from the nation. Us coming together more, but I think that's part of it, but also too, I think having those standards, at least, and having that law it governs and it protects you from a lot of stuff, as far as random things or whatever, because it wouldn't be in the mindset, not just because you're married, but just in general, it should be in the mindset, okay, because somebody just says, hey, do you want to hook up? I'm just kind of lonely. I don't want to be by myself. It kind of protects us a little bit from that, but also too, I think the thing is to, once again, ready yourself as a husband, ready yourself as a wife. So when you meet somebody, you'll be looking for somebody who's qualified for you. I think that's like one of the biggest things that's out there. I won't bring the person's name, but I know you were even talking a little bit about sex is marriage and marriage is sex with somebody today earlier. And a lot of people kind of are thrown off by that because the reality is, unfortunate reality has become everybody wants to kind of just, hook up and not really have, and I'm not even talking about sexually, I'm just talking about literally like, hook up. Let's go out and date. Let's grab something to eat. Yeah, and it's not something like, what are we going to do? So I think one of the first things to do is to be armed with some questions even. Like even if that was what it's going to be, if you feel led. First of all, I think that's part of the issue is like maybe we should have some Holy Spirit involved, right? But then once that's, some people might think of that as like a cop-out answer or something. But once we get there, I believe that's extremely important in everything we do. The next step, if you're led to talk to this person, then what are the questions that you might have? Like you as a wife who should already be a wife, what are the things that you should have prepared? Like I know that there's sisters on here. And so, let's keep it a buck. There's probably a lot of guys who jump in people's DMs and stuff like that. So if you even are going to go through that, or there's, sisters we talk to, and then some of them will finally like mention months and months after the fact, oh yeah, there's this guy who's been trying to talk to me. I've been texting back and forth, but I haven't done anything with him, Pastor. Okay. Well, like, all right, like what are the questions? Like, because even in all that, it's kind of even playing the game in and of itself. It's not dating, but it's still leaving the door open. Like, what are the things that we're articulating? Like, I need to have this, you need to present this, I'm not moving unless blah, 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 et cetera.
I would say think of questions that would help you know if you like them or not, and go into it with the mindset of I hope I like them, not I hope they like me. So like you go into it like already with your standards, your confidence, your communication skills, knowing what it is that you value and your value, and already happy enough, not going in looking for something or someone to complete you or make you happy, but being happy enough on your own. You have your own friendships, families, you have decent communication skills, you're working on yourself, you're working on just skills, like what is it, something that I'm not good at that I've always wanted to be good at, and work on something like that is challenging you and giving you a life outside of looking for somebody to give you a life.
So. Yeah, most definitely. And I'm sorry I wasn't looking at the comment section. I know there were a couple comments we missed because we need to comment on the land so we can meet as much as possible. Well, that too, and also I think a big part of it, like Elder Mind saying, is do you know the person? Have you met the person? Do you know people who know them? Right, that's part of community too. Is that's part of the vetting process. Even in what we're talking about as far as trying to be biblical and get back to culture and things like that. Part of the vetting process is, hey, like, what have you guys heard about so-and-so? Has so-and-so, like, this is something that's happened before. Has so-and-so been in multiple people's DMs before yours? So are they just kind of seeking and they're not really looking? Has he been in 10 people's DMs and have all 9 of them before you heard that they're beautiful and they were in his dream. And I mean, I'm just saying, like, because people, like we said before, we don't, a lot of time we go from hood and street N-words to Israelite N-words. Like we just bring the same stuff, right? So part of that is even making sure we have community. And then even if a guy says so, you know, if you got brothers in the faith, contact a couple of the brothers. Like he's saying this, he's saying that, what y'all think? You know, and even we should like because we're family, right? In a family, let's say we had a big family. Let's say you had a family of like 10 or 9 siblings. You're the 10th, right? If you met somebody, your brothers and sisters probably gonna be on it. And your brother's gonna be like, oh, who's this guy? You know, and they go, oh, for real? Oh, okay. And they're gonna talk to him, and they're gonna embarrass you. You know, you get some of you have lived this life where you get embarrassed when your siblings and stuff come into contact, but they checking them. They're gonna see how do they operate. If we like start acting like we're gonna beat him up or something, is he gonna cower out, right? Or is he gonna stop coming around, or is he in love with you, like this and that? Like there's stuff that you do, or your sisters, they check people or whatever, they do the same type thing, and that's part of the process. Yet for whatever reason, we kind of are trying to stay away from that, and we act like when we start establishing that. So I think there's a lot of different things that we should do. But going back to what you're saying, I like what you're saying as far as preparing yourself, the cloth, the preparation, the cutting of certain things out of your life, and making sure you have certain things prepared in order, so that when somebody comes to you, okay, like, all right, I'm digging you a little bit. Let me ask you this question, because like then having it's like law, right? Law doesn't give rights, law protects rights. I have a set of questions, and these things protect me. They protect me from I'm feeling a certain way. They protect me from you got nice hair. Protects me from you got money, you got car, you got the hips, you got whatever, right? It protects me to be like, okay, once I get past the fact that you're in my mind, you're a 12 out of 10. All right, let's see. Here's some questions to see. And let's see how you answer these questions. And no matter what you look like, this and that. Matter of fact, maybe I need to have somebody else ask you these questions. I don't know. But I need to make sure I have something that protects me and doesn't just have me go into a mode of, ooh, I've been out of a relationship for 10 years. Ooh, you know, like I've been celibate for 3 years, you know, and it's been tough. And now here comes somebody and that like it puts you in a place. So I really like that, you know, thought process and suggestion.
Oh, thank you. And I think having like a certain criteria for meeting people, like, you know what your standards are, you know that they have to, you know, have a certain standard, have certain standards and values of their own, certain beliefs. You know, and you go up front and tell them, you know, this is what I'm doing. I'm not dating. I'm not out here just looking for whomever. I'm very content, but I would definitely like to be married one day. And these are the criteria for my husband, or these are criteria for my wife. Usually, you know, I guess women are kind of set the standard for what they're looking for. And then the man decides if he wants her, and he probably does if he approached her, more than likely. But yeah, having a set of criteria, like you've already mapped this out before you go out there. You're not going out there cold. You're already prepared as a wife. You're already prepared as a husband. Now you just want to find somebody who matches your vibe, somebody who matches, you know, what it is, your purpose, your vision, your goals, your mission in life, you know, your VPV, or as Pastor would say, vision, purpose, value. Do their lives fall in line with that? Because that's going to save you a lot of time and trouble and frustration. It's going to be a whole lot less expensive to find somebody who already aligns with that than to try to make them align with that.
Yeah. Well, also, it's going to sound weird. I don't know if I missed some of what you said, obviously, because I was out the room for a second. But just, I think something, too, that we should probably look at is taking ourselves out of the equation. That is going to sound weird. But just roll back for a second, right? Because I'm dealing with me. Why would I take me out the equation? What I mean is, put it this way. Do we believe Scripture? Scripture says that the Most High wants to do exceeding abundantly, right? Above all we could ever ask or think, according to the power he's placed within us. So he's already placed something in us powerful. And if we're in tune with what you're talking about, vision, purpose, value, and mission, then we'll probably won't settle for anybody that would take us outside of what we've been given. and sometimes even we might like be looking for something that maybe is not going to help us to execute, because we've already like. So yes, I think we should have questions, things like that. It sounds almost like I'm about to be counterintuitive to what we just said, but hopefully it makes sense. Have questions, have the stuff that you want, but also too, sometimes I think even, once again, I feel like this is leaning on the Holy Spirit, which is a big part of this, but excuse me, lean on the Holy Spirit. On top of that, let's not forget too that what if somebody's going to bring something that you're not even aware that maybe like, is, what if somebody brings something to the table that you're not even aware that you need?
Oh yeah.
So like,
that's true.
So sometimes we've got it so much in our head, because we've, especially like with our sisters and the way that we treat little girls kind of are preparing themselves really more so for walking down the aisle, but for marriage and motherhood, especially from when they're young, right? So what if the Most High has somebody with a mission that is so vast, and if you would actually give it time, pray about it, have community people look at it, stuff like that, what if you were actually to realize, oh wow, that's even better than what I thought. It's different. It's not exactly what I'd be looking for, but it's something that's that I could see, like I mean, when well, I don't know. So like when we met, this is something, well, I don't know if you don't want to talk about it publicly, I'll talk about it publicly. You've talked about some of our meeting right before. We've talked about some. So when we met, and I know we had a conversation like down the road, not the initial one we had on the phone, but I don't know, maybe a few days, couple weeks after, whatever, where it was like, you were like, oh, I wouldn't, at the time, especially because where you were at in certain things, you were like, I don't think that I'd be with the pastor or something like that. Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so, yeah.
So basically, like, does that end up being a plus in your life? And like how, so, or well, put it like this, like when you see what I'm saying? When you found out basically that obviously like you felt like you were led, you felt like you heard something say that I had value, and you even were, hung in there to a lot of stuff where I really, like, even financially and stuff, was not in a great place for a long time. And, but you allowed me to develop and get to a place to where I'm still not exactly where we want to be. But at the same time, I could say lifestyle, we pretty much are very consistent with where we were when we first got together, and we're still doing a lot of stuff and have done some things that are really, really great, because of it, right? So when you meet me, you find out I'm a pastor, and you start seeing even some of what that is and a little bit of what that entails and stuff like that. Like, even though it's something you didn't expect, is it something that you can say, like, even if it's not what you were looking for, it's something that you're great that you were at least opening yourself for something that you weren't looking for? I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I wasn't expecting to meet a pastor, but it was funny because I don't even know if I ever told you this. I think I did.
Why you showed up?
No, I had met a pastor before, but
I don't know.
But at the time, it was funny. Like, at the time, I was a Buddhist, and after we talked, he was like, I'm attracted to you, but I can't do the non-believer thing. So, I wish you well or whatever. And then, like, right after that, I met you, but I chose you. But yeah, I was not looking for a pastor, and I respected you. Like, you handed me your card when we met, and I looked at it and I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's respectable. I wasn't looking for that for sure.
Right. Well, the reason I'm asking is like, because a lot of times we receive something, like, I'll be honest, when we met up, I was trying to just become a husband, whatever that meant at the time, which I realized I didn't even 100% know what that meant. But I was trying to, like, go into being a husband, and I was hoping that when I've found a wife, ran to a wife or something like that, because, be honest, I didn't have it in me to talk to people or whatever. So I don't know.
He like blew me off. It was so embarrassing. Oh my.
Yeah, the story. There's two different stories. I'll just go ahead and submit to that one that I blew her
But I was praying to meet my husband, and I had kind of just given up. I was kind of like, you know, whatever it's going to be is going to be. I'm kind of, you know, just content with just being myself or whatever, or being with myself, and figuring stuff out. And actually, when we met, I was like, I'm working on myself. I can't be in a relationship. But where was I going with this? I don't even know.
I don't know. You said I blew you off.
Yes.
I said, I mean,
yes.
There's two different stories, and then you said, well, when I met, I was
he blew me off. But I had to. At first I saw him. He was talking on the phone to someone, and I thought it was his grandmother because he was promising to bring her cookies, and I was like. And, you know, I saw him and I thought he was perfect. There was some like aura around him that like I had never felt like somebody was just like perfect before. And it wasn't like a physical thing. And then I was like, well, let me hear what he's talking about on the phone. Who is he talking to? So I was like eavesdropping, and he was talking about visiting them in the hospital, and the person made him promise to bring her cookies. And I was like, well, he's probably talking to his grandmother. But I didn't know at the time who he was talking to. That was somebody that he was looking after in a mental hospital. And that was our first date. We went to a mental hospital for our first date to visit someone he was helping out. But
I mean, yes. It was immediate. It was kingdom business, I guess, immediately. That's what we're doing, right? Then we went out.
Yeah, then we went out.
Else after that, but we talked before we went out. Though we had a long conversation on the phone. Matter of fact, I thought that the opposite. And I would be honest, on the opposite end, you know. And I well, I'll leave it alone. If she says I blew her off, I blew her off.
Well, I was getting to that part. So, I was leaving. I was on my way out, and something told me you need to go back and say hello to him. And like my sister had been giving me coaching lessons. She had been like, you know, there's 50% men and 50% women on this earth. It shouldn't be this difficult to meet somebody, blah, 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 blah. She's like, I suggest, you know, that you just say hello to someone. And I was like, and it sounds easier than it actually is. But something, you know, the Spirit, you know, now I know the Spirit was telling me you need to go back and you need to say something to him. And so I like walked around. We were at a train station. I walked around, and he had moved at this point, and I was thinking that he had left. And I see him sitting down on the ground with his newspaper, and I try to inch up towards him to say hi, because I didn't know what I was gonna say. And so I said hi, and he put his newspaper down. He looked me up and down, and he said hello, and then he put his newspaper back up, and I was just standing there for like, I don't know, like 10 seconds, it seemed like, and like mortified, like I got to get out of here. And then I just got dismissed.
Okay, so so it was going to go to that level, and I have to defend myself at least a smidge. Y'all figure out whatever you want. Matter of fact, this is the story that exists still online from our wedding, where if you were people who came and we invited everybody, and they got to look at the website. That's like the first page. It's just this story how I basically carried her or whatever. But
he did.
I'll defend myself, right, to where a little bit. Take how you will. At the end of the day, I'm thankful that she had the patience to deal with my being mean or whatever.
I just couldn't escape fast enough.
But long story short, when I saw her walking around while she was spying on me. I had peeped that she was walking around, was on the phone, but I saw she had a ring on her hand. It was on the ring finger, but it was not on the left hand. But I just saw a ring finger. So in my mind, I went, okay. Like I thought it was a test, like beautiful, like a 20 out of 10, all this. And once again, I don't approach people, and I'm used to thinking that I'm ugly. So I'm like, all right, like this person's coming at me. And, you know, I'm just sitting up here waiting to go to, and I'm sitting here too. I'm waiting. I'm going to church. I'm going to do, I think it was, what was it that night? Probably was rehearsal or something. Probably was rehearsal for praise team or something like that. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay. And then same person that I saw that I was like, okay, she's beautiful, but you know, okay. And then all of a sudden she then is next to me as I'm like there. I didn't see her come up next to me. And then she says hi. And then I'm just sitting there like, I don't know what to say. right? Like either way, like being blah blah. So then I don't remember, but if I did, I guess I put
You said you thought I was crazy.
Huh?
I think you said you thought I was crazy because why was I talking to you?
No, I didn't say that. Well, I don't remember saying that. I remember she started to walk away, and then she started to walk away. I realized because she was on my left, or she was on my right hand side. So then I saw her left hand, and I noticed like the ring was gone. And I was like, this at first was again, I think this is kind of weird, and then I realized, oh, the ring is on the opposite hand. And that's when I stood up, and then said hello, and she was starting to turn and go away, and that's when I said hello, and then praise Yah that she stopped and gave me the time of day, at that point. And then, the rest is our story, as they say. But right after that, the night is funny. The night after that, I was calling the day actually that night that we talked, I called and called. She was with a friend of hers and they were doing something. So I guess, but I was sitting there like thinking, and I was, to be honest, like I was, I guess I was thirsty. I was just calling, no answer. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess this was, too much to be true and all that stuff or whatever. And then she called me the next night.
No, that's not true. You said so I was excited to talk. Well, he was carrying me to all around that day. Cause like once he started talking to me, I got right to the point. I don't know. I kind of had like verbal diarrhea. It was so crazy. I just went like a mile. He asked me if I had found what I was looking for because he saw me walking around, and I said,
I did say, yeah,
I explained that no, and then I cut straight to the point, and I was like, "Do you have a wife? Do you have a girlfriend?" And then he goes, I said, "Do you have a wife?" He said, "No." I said, "Do you have a girlfriend?" I said no, and then he realized why I was talking to him, so he stood up and introduced himself.
Okay, I don't remember.
And then you handed me your card, and then you said, "Can I call you?" And I said, "Oh, well, I'm busy right now." And you were like, "No, not right now. I meant later." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
I felt so carried. I was like, so.
See, I don't know. That's carrying somebody. Like she was like, not right now. I'm busy right now.
No, you said no, not right now. I didn't mean call you right now. I meant later.
Well, that could be just because I'm stupid. I mean, I don't know. like when you say I'm busy right now, so I didn't know busy right now. I meant like I could, because I didn't call you like 30 minutes after.
No.
I had rehearsal, so I probably would have called you. Got back home.
No, you said you were gonna call me at 8. You called me at 7:58. You started calling me.
Okay, long story short, no matter how many times I called for the rest of that night, we didn't talk to the next day. We talked on the next day after that. It was a Wednesday.
We still talked that day.
We talked on Thursday.
That's not true.
Right, you can go back and look at the date.
I don't remember that.
Because when we actually went to meet the person that we meant to meet in the hospital. When we went to meet her, it was July 4th. And so July 2nd was when we met.
Yeah.
Right? Then July 3rd was when we actually had the conversation for the first time. No,
July 2nd we had a conversation. We were supposed to meet up on July 3rd. We didn't meet up on July 3rd. Mm-mm. We ended up meeting up. Anyhow.
We were never supposed to meet up on July 3rd.
I don't know.
You couldn't meet up on July 3rd.
I don't remember.
You had stuff that you had to do. And then July 4th I came by or whatever. Yeah, but July 2nd is when we met. I tried to call you on July 2nd or whatever. When we talked the next day, July 3rd, you said that you had done with your friend that you were over her house for some event or some get together or something like that. Okay.
Downtown.
And then so we didn't talk until July 3rd because you said you couldn't talk on July 2nd. You didn't notice that the phone rang. You were even like, which has become something that we know now. You were like, oh yeah, I don't really look at my phone like that, blah blah. Anyways. Especially when I'm busy doing stuff.
I don't know, but I know our first conversation, we talked for like 2 or 3 hours, and I don't talk on the phone. I hate talking on the phone.
Yeah. But that conversation was straight up like, us just going back and forth, like, okay, what are you going to do in life? What's your mission? What's your vision? What are you going to do? Like, this is what I'm planning on doing. Like, I come with this. I have this many children. Okay, well, I have blah, blah. Well, this is what I actually do. Like, well, I'm a pastor. I'm not even sure because the pastor and I'm talking about doesn't necessarily look like what somebody else does. Okay, well, this is stuff I want. Well, okay, what's stuff you? And then, she back at me like, okay, well, this stuff. And I don't like dealing with this because I've dealt with this in my past. Like, I'm looking for somebody and this and that. I make blah blah, but at the end of the day, I want to be taken care of, secure. Like we had conversation. That was actually like our first in-depth conversation. Once again, things that like protect you, you know, like, and so it was kind of just straight up at the beginning. These are the things, like, you know, obviously as we got to know each other more was said, but like, you know, those were the things and stuff like that. So
we had a very intellectual conversation about being it was about being selfish versus self-centered.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that, and I liked what he said about being selfish versus self-centered, that most people don't mean to be so they're not really selfish, they're self-centered, and they just don't realize that they're doing certain things because they're thinking about themselves more so than thinking about others. And what he said impressed me about how thoughtful he was about, you know, the way he thought. And yeah, I just like the way he thought. And
yeah, she always says I'm very is it political
Diplomatic.
or diplomatic? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which at times was code for like,
oh, passive aggressive. No, at first, no, it wasn't. I liked you at first.
So that's the end of tonight. We're not going to go any further tonight. Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it, though. But yeah, what was I'm sorry, did I cut you off? What you were saying?
No, I think the main point was that from the very beginning we stated like what we were looking for. And it was very clear, like, this is my vision, this is my mission. He made it very clear, like, this is my vision, this is my mission. I'm interested. I want to be married. I want to find a wife. I'm not interested in dating, playing games. I'm not interested in any of that. And you know, we're both on the same page. Like, I'm not interested in.
I was gonna say, yeah, you were very
whatever.
clear
And
about that.
I think people get scared to say what it is they really want because they think that the person's gonna take it that they want them in that way. But I think I was very clear that it's like, you know, I don't necessarily want you to be my husband, but that's what I'm looking for, a husband. I'm not looking to, you know, date or play around with anybody. So if that's not something you're interested in, you know, you can keep it moving, basically.
And if, you know, and going back to making it like less about yourself and keeping to these, you know, laws or questions or being very strict with certain things, I think that once again helps as well. Excuse me, sorry. I think that once again helps as well, because you get to a place to where you have too much, like, for example, if somebody were to come to you, right, a husband, let's say, presents himself, man presents himself, you don't know if he's a husband yet, but prayerfully a husband presents himself, he probably shouldn't be talking about a date. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's, you know what I'm saying, if it's that real, you know, he probably shouldn't be talking about a date. He should be talking about, you know, things as far as things, or if he's, you know, there's certain buzzwords that you should be looking for, the negative buzzwords and the positive buzzwords. You know, if it's coming, hey, you know, just trying to see what you're trying to do, or like the guy that presented himself, you know, to you today earlier, you know, hey, I'm just trying to meet up, this and that. Like, there's no vision, there's no mission, there's no plan.
Just trying to find someone.
It's just like, I'm new to town, which could be a lie anyways, but fine. If that's, let's say it was real, I'm new to town, and since I'm new to town, you're new to town too. Well, I need a friend, and blah blah. Well, that's not, you know, you can find a friend, you know, a friend that's a girlfriend. You can find a dime a dozen. I'm looking for somebody who's looking for wife. If you're looking for wife, you're not messing around with certain things, you know. And I think we a lot of times get in relationships with people hoping that eventually what we have faith in begins to work itself out, rather than being like, I have faith and I'm expecting works to meet from the beginning. Like, from the beginning, out your mouth. What are you talking about as far as vision? Out your mouth. What are you talking about as far as security? Even if you don't, like, once again, I can admit to you, I was definitely studying this stuff and getting better to become a husband. And I'll say, even though I try to become better every day, I can say I met the criteria as a husband when my wife and I came together. And I believe that my wife was a wife because she was already preparing herself in that mode. That being said, though, there's certain things, you know, like, even when we talked to each other in the beginning, she was speaking life. She was saying stuff like, and even knowing the position I was in, like I've told you guys, I was pretty much coming out the street, getting myself together, and had a little room I was staying at the time, you know, really getting my life back together, coming off being homeless, stuff like that. and was kind of broken, but was, had faith that things would work out. And she would tell me, she would say, at some point things need to pick up or whatever. But she would tell me, like, when I met you, I saw greatness in you. And I knew, and I felt like if I felt a voice. Now she says the Holy Spirit, but back then she would say, I felt a voice. I heard a voice saying, that, I needed to go back and talk to you, and that give you a chance, basically, like to get yourself.
The voice said, you need to go back, have courage. Mm-hmm. If you don't do this, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Oh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, but saying she spoke those things, like, so even in that, I would hear, even when we were coming together, I would, hearing that, my spirit, literally would leap off, like biblical scriptures would leap up when she says that. Because what? He who finds a wife, right, finds a righteous or tabah thing, right? But also if you look, finds this thing, this relationship, this union called marriage. But also, if you read the verse before it, what does it say? It says that she's going to speak life, right? Death and life is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it will eat the fruit thereof. Therefore, what? He who finds a wife. So when she did these things, like, she wasn't saying stuff that, like, oh, a little girlfriend says, or a friend would say, or somebody trying to be nice. It's like, yeah, sometimes she might say something that, might be there where you need to hear, but also too, she'll speak something that's like life, or she'll say something that's like, oh, okay, I'm trying to speak death upon that, but what's the reason even why she's speaking death? She might be speaking death on it because you don't need it in your life. So she's saying, hey, get that together. I can't tell you what to do, you're a grown man, but if you're going to be a husband and we're going to work, like, you might need to work on these things. So, those are things that, like, when you meet somebody, you should be looking for those buzzwords as well, is how is this going to, like a husband should have certain buzzwords, like we getting straight to business, like especially if they're of our culture, there should be certain things we're looking for right off the jump. But even if they're not 100% there, they're learning, they're coming into knowledge. One of the things, like when sisters, sometimes, especially sisters that might not have fathers or father figures in their life, and they're like, hey, as you as my pastor, can you kind of look out for me? When I've had sisters ask me questions, my immediate response is like, okay, well, what's he saying as far as vision? What is he saying as far as how he's going to take care of you? What is it that that you're supposed to do? What's your gift? And what is he going to do to make sure that he helps you to start a business or lets you be free to do certain things? Has he started talking about children? Because a lot of them be talking to me, well, we're having this. And of course, we've been dating. We've been seeing each other for a long time. And we're trying to hold off in the bedroom. But, things are getting, I'll be like, well, time out. Has he talked about children? Mm. And they'll be like, what you mean? And I'm like, well, if he's talking about having sex with you, mm-hmm. then he should have a plan for children. Yeah. Because sex is marriage, marriage is sex. And we're not doing stuff just because, right? So if he's going to do something that could lead towards any type of penetration, and all it takes is, hey, I forgot the condom, or all it takes is, well, we're already horny. Okay, just make sure that you, whatever. Like, mm-hmm. We're adults. So just have an honest conversation. All it takes is something like that. Or all it takes really too, some of these brothers aren't trustworthy, and here you are weaker, and you see what I'm saying? So my first thing is like, is he talking about children? Are you talking about what he's going to do for grandchildren? Because we're supposed to take care of our children's children. So we should at least have a plan that at some point it's going to start manifesting that before we even have grandchildren, mm-hmm. our grandchildren. Matter of fact, my goal in my life, I would like, is by the time Solomon can present me with a grandchild, I would like to know that his grandchildren, my great grandchildren, are already taken care of. Right. Like that should be part of the plan. And then having Solomon follow in my footsteps to where he's just taking wealth and he's multiplying it even while I'm alive. Like, hey, you do that now, son. You take care of the farm, or you take care of the land, or you take care of this and that, or whatever. Like, I'm still here. I'm still patriarch. If you need something, I'll step in. But now you got the experience. You have the youth, and you have all the stuff that I had. Take it with your experience. Take the experience that I had. Take your experiences. Take your mom's experiences, and take now the youth that you have. Put all that together, and I'm going to watch you. Yeah. And I'm going to focus on some other things, trusting that I can let you handle what it is, and actually focus on certain things. In a sense, I'll still be in my work, but in a sense, that's my retirement. Is once you get of age, and I can give you your inheritance while you're, prayerfully by the time you're 21, if I do it correctly, when you turn 22, here you go, son. Do what you do. Here's your land. Mom and I are straight. SOC land is all right. Like, we're gonna go do what we do, and you take care of this stuff, right? That should, and when I give that to him, if by the time he comes back and says, I found a wife, Dad, and we'd like you to talk to her parents and blah blah. When he comes back, prayerfully, when that moment happens, I can already say, okay, when you guys have a child and you bring it back to our land or whatever, we got you. Like, you don't even have to worry about anything. We're already taking care of your grandchildren. You just be a father and a mother. Yes, father, go out and be in your work still. Mama, you can rest, get yourself together and be in a position a lot of our sisters can't be in. Like, hey, a lot of them can't take maternity leave, stuff like that or whatever. You don't have to worry about that. Like, if you choose to go back to that, sure. But if you're having our grandchild, I want you to know that it's going to be taken care of. Our family's going to be here for you. SOC members will be here for you. Whatever the aspect is, like, you just rest and know that you're going to be fine. You focus on breastfeeding, skin on skin, stuff like that. Oxytocin, all that stuff transpiring, loving your baby, that baby loving you, your husband being around to show love and stuff, and you rest. Because it's going to take you 3-6 months for you to bounce back. This whole snap back thing, and people be like making all these lyrics to songs. No, like, you need to do your best. So I think, like, we should have discussions like that often. Obviously, different ages, and if you're older, some of those things might not necessarily apply, but you still might have children, and you still might have certain things like that, which is actually one of the questions that somebody asked earlier. But I'm sorry, you saw.
Oh no, I'm looking at comments. Monique said, "Is there an SOC meet and greet?" So we have meetups around the country, the different regions, where SOC members come and just come to fellowship, maybe break bread.
We actually tried last year to really pick up on it, and we didn't get, and it could honestly just because of lack of organization. We have more organization now. We have more communication. So that's why we've been saying things to people like, hey, please fill out those forms. Ministerial staff, we've been saying out loud, I'm gonna make sure that I send a message and stuff like that. Matter of fact, one of our assistant to us on the ministerial side, Minister Jenny, she actually sent out a message earlier, but like, we're gonna send out messages more. Hey, are you contacting the people, communicating? They're doing their end now. We got their information in the system. Can you make sure you reach out to them? And whether we're there or not, it'd be nice. Like, I know in Vegas, there were several sisters that were coming together. They were meeting up regularly. In Cali, there's some people that actually aren't too far from each other that probably every once in a while can meet up. In Carolinas, we have quite a few people, and I know Minister Elisha, Minister Yasav, we're really reaching out to people and stuff, but we didn't really have too much manifestation in that. A couple of times meetups were done in Georgia, but I think for the most part it was only when Elder Maya and I were there. But I do know at least a couple of you all have met a couple of times, and there's a lot of you or at least in the outskirts, if not in Atlanta area over there, even though I know that we have a couple people that are further south, about 3-4 hours down too. But we have different things we're also putting on the calendar. When Elder Maya and I are going to be, at least for the holy days, there might be some stuff in between there from time to time. But so we have stuff, and even if it's on Zoom, we tried to start it last year. We might try to start it up, but I'm trying to get more so the ministerial staff to do so, because I know that personally, just it's too much for me to do on my own, and I know that I'm not really going to be able to always be on every one. I try to show up as many as I can now, but we have different things that we have even on Zoom where last year we did stuff, maybe we'll bring some of it back, but last year we did Zoom meetings specifically just for regions. So if you were in the Northeast region, basically everything east of Ohio, everything north of Northern Virginia, basically all the way up to Maine. So we did stuff like that. Then we had a meeting for those in the Carolinas. Then we had another actually, I think we do the Carolinas and Georgia together, but Georgia and Carolinas are kind of separate. We had another regional meeting we were doing in Florida. So there's things like that to where at least you can kind of hear people, see their position, things of that nature. We're staying away from doing the singles ministry thing because that turns into basically just a way for people to date, and then that turns into people meeting behind the scenes and all types of stuff anyway. So we're still trying to make sure that we're doing things as biblical as possible. We do know, like I said, to be honest, people are adults. There's people that get in people's DMs and stuff, and people actually are pretty honest. They'll, like, if it gets to be too far, people actually bring it to my attention. So believe it or not, I know I just don't say anything. As long as it doesn't cross a line, I don't say anything. What were you gonna say?
I was looking at SJ's comment about you become guarded when you've made mistakes in the past. It becomes hard to trust moving forward. And what I would say to that is true, it does, but then it becomes a different story when you can't trust in you and you can't trust in him. Like, you definitely have to trust in the Most High. It has to be something that's bigger than you two, because I don't think any relationship will work without Yahweh in the middle and Yahweh holding it together. because you can't trust you and you can't trust him. You're gonna let you down, and he's gonna let you down from time to time. And so if you are waiting till you can trust somebody, or waiting you can feel like you trust yourself, it's not gonna happen. So you're just gonna have to go on faith. And I think you can save yourself a lot of time if you listen to the vision statement. And if he's not giving you a vision statement right off, I don't think he's the one.
At least not yet. Yeah.
Because in my experience, a man who's interested in you, he's gonna give you his vision. He's gonna try to impress you right away. He's gonna try to.
He's not waiting.
Yeah, he's not waiting to try to figure out if he likes you and all this kind of stuff.
Now, we should be the one being like, hold up, like, wait a minute, like, you need to get this together, blah, blah. Like, if he's ready, he's ready. And it's not, and it's going to sound weird. No, because I want him to be for me and this and that. Yeah, but he's looking also at the position of wife, right? And the position of husband. That's why I was saying make it even bigger than yourself. Like, there's stuff that I've come into, like when we got together, there's a lot of stuff that Elder Maya wanted from me that I definitely wasn't providing at first, not just financially, but even emotionally, spiritually, etc. But I grew into those things because the position of husband is what kept me, you know what I'm saying? And the position of wife, there's certain things that maybe I didn't feel like I was getting, I really don't have, much gripe, and stuff, besides things that usually were arguments that I had that really, I can't even remember what the arguments were about. So they obviously didn't mean much, but even the little gripes or whatever that you have there, at the end of the day, it was a position of wife. I didn't marry. This is going to sound weird once again. This is why it says the wife is not considered to be a thing, but when it says when you find the wife, you find a tabah thing, it's not referring to her as a thing. She is a great vessel. She is beautiful. She's divine. She's the wife, right? But as the wife is talking about in the marriage, you have these two positions that are being filled. And so sometimes we go into a place. Now, look, love language, all that stuff is important. Her as an individual versus what other people would want. Me not trying to bring past relationships into this. Yeah, that's all true. But she's filling a position, a role. It's like when you go to your job, or when you put your resume in, and then when you went in for your interview on your job, guess what? On your job, they didn't hire you because of your name. They didn't hire you because, maybe they're not supposed to hire you because of your color or this and that or whatever. What are they supposed to do? Supposed to hire you based off of the job requires, boom, right? And can you execute it? And even if you don't have it all together, are you at least in a place where you're trainable for these things, right? Then after you fill those things, yeah, we got a little spot on here. What's your hobbies? What's this? Because yeah, it'd be nice if we know those things. But first and foremost, can you fill this position? So can you fill a position of wife? Can you fill a position of mother? Can you fill a position of help me? Can you fill a position of spiritual advisor, leader? Can you be a shoulder to cry? Like, these are the things that we're looking at first. And then, then we need to figure out, like, as you go to prepare a place for her, guess what you're doing? You're learning of her, doing these things, making sure things are ready for when she comes in. And guess what? When you're taking time out, when you're preparing yourself for him, and really even for the place he's bringing you into, then yes, start getting these things, learning things from their parents, getting some true stuff like that. That's what it's supposed to be. And we think, oh, okay, date this person long enough and we'll find that out. When a lot of times dating is fake anyways. You're not even supposed to be your real legit self in the date, or you reveal a little bit more, or you reveal the things that make yourself look perfect. And yeah, you'll give him some stuff, you keeping it real, but there's certain things you're not going to let him in. Why? Because that's not my husband, that's not my wife. But you sleeping with him, you even living with him, you're doing certain things. Sometimes even if you don't live with them, you're waking up next to him a lot. So is it so you're kind of cheating? You're being told not to give your whole self. But if we're going to give our whole self, that's why we have these things in place that should be lawful and in place, and always in a place to protect us.
Yeah, definitely don't cheat yourself. And that goes for men and for women, because a man who isn't going to be with a woman that he knows he would be willing to marry, and a healthy male, according to science, knows whether or not he would marry a woman within the first minute of meeting her. He has already made a decision in his head. Either she's marriage material or she is not.
Yeah, I was about to say, my wife doesn't like this term, so I don't call my wife this, but I'm just using the term that we use. Like, guys be talking about it all the time. Is she wifey? Can you wife her?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can wife her, like, that's what cats say to each other. Like, it's just, hey, like, within a few seconds, like, yeah, we get past the thing, guys and horn dogs. Okay, she built like this, boom, boom, whatever. Then after that, like, is she wife?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you date, like, even if you ain't going on your first date, yo, like, they'll even talk to each other. I think I might wife this one, bro.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, even though we shouldn't be talking about it like we copping something, I'm just saying, though, that's how guys would talk to each other. Like, even guys that are out there, we'd be like, yeah, man, I think I might wipe this one, right? Now, even if you don't, what he's telling you is, I already see, like, she ain't just somebody to be playing around with, like, or they even be stuff like, yeah, I could bring this one to mama. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's when brothers hear that, oh, okay, like, okay, I need to meet this one. Like, you know, we'll even, brothers even be spying. I mean, we worse than sisters sometimes, be gossiping, stuff like that. Really? But she blah, blah. Because, so once you got to that point, really now we're talking about just the execution phase of, all right, now that we have this together, what are we going to do to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do as a husband for your wife?
Yeah.
And versus what happens is we say, oh, I could wife this one, but what is it? The world system that clicks in and we go, how can I get her in the bedroom? Or how can I get out of her what it is? Or how can I just get the wife stuff out of her without having to wife her? But if you know she a wife, why not just go ahead and do everything you can to make her a wife? Make her, she already should be a wife, but you know what I'm saying? Make her your wife.
Yeah.
Right? So that you're worthy of marrying her, having sex, laying down, having children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Actually, before I met you, I was doing a lot of self-work and reading a lot of like books, especially on communication and on dating. And one of the passages in Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus talks about how, you know, don't slight yourself, don't cheat yourself, because for a man who's pursuing women that he knows he would not be interested in marrying, eventually he's going to become unhappy, and it's going to be a blow to his manhood, because he knows he's going to let her down eventually. And a man, his whole role is to serve and to be useful, and not to go around hurting women.
That's a big thing, by the way. You mind saying, to get a man's whole big goal for a man is what?
It's to serve
and to be useful.
And to be useful.
Believe it or not, sisters, that's huge. Like, when you be saying stuff and you like, I don't need blah blah, and sometimes even pretend like you might need help, because I promise you, us feeling like we get useful, and I think once again now we're into husband territory. You know what I'm saying? Like, husbands, we want to be used to a certain extent, right? We don't like to be used for nothing, or we don't like to be told we're nothing. Like, yeah, let me prove to you that I'm useful, that I can do things.
So Dr. John Gray's argument or discussion was that men only pursue women. They you know, his advice to men was to only pursue a woman that you know you'd marry. Don't waste your time
or
hers, because you're eventually going to have a blow to your manhood. As a man who pursues women, and he knows eventually he's going to have to let her down.
Can I say something real quick? Yeah. I know I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. Brothers, think on this, right? How many either brothers you know, or be honest with yourself, how many times have you gotten with somebody and you knew when you got with them it wasn't going to work, but whatever, you got with them, and even though you broke up with them, you still from time to time think about that person, not because you want to be with them, but because you're like, man, how did I mess it up? We don't bring it up, but we think like that. I listen to guys a lot who tell me that, right? Like, you'll still think about people you don't even want to be with, but it still eats you up inside because somebody that it wasn't going to work with, or if maybe you felt it was going to work, but either way, it doesn't even matter if you felt it was going to work, wasn't. You look back sometimes and you start trying to figure out what you could have done, this and that. Why? Because it was your mindset. It was your thought process. That's how you created. That's how you built, is that you were supposed to be foundational. You're supposed to make this family work. You're supposed to do this. And then when it doesn't, even if you knew you weren't supposed to be with that person, even if you have no want to desire, every once in a while, you still hit yourself upside the head every once in a while. And you think about it, it might even be short. You get yourself together, you forgive yourself, you say, okay, but it is what it is. But because you know that's something that you are designed to do.
Exactly. And so in his book, he's basically arguing that for a man, they want to earn their manhood and to feel useful, to feel needed and necessary is something that builds a man up. And for women to keep that in mind, that the man wants to feel like he's doing something. He doesn't want to feel like you're doing something. He wants to feel like he's doing something. So don't ever pursue a man. Let him, you can show him interest, but let him pursue you. Because if you're pursuing him, that's a blow to his manhood. And it's going to lessen your value in his eyes. So for a man, make sure you're doing things that have vision and purpose, because eventually down the line, you're going to feel like less of a man. And in order to feel like a man, you need that validation from a woman. Basically, you're going to need that at some point. You're going to need that from your community to say you are a man. You've been doing you have been doing things that add up to something, not you just slept around and you broke all these girls' hearts. And even though you might not be in love with them or care for them like that, you do feel bad about leaving a trail of whatever. And then for the girl, maintain your value by, having value and having standards and sticking to those standards, not ever like bending to what he wants, always knowing what it is that you want, because he wants to feel like he's won you over, not like you've just, caved over and died. Like, and then, what kind of man takes that? What kind of man sees that as any type of a challenge or anything that validates him?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that old thing. There's some truth in that, and we actually at our hour mark, so we're not going to be before you too much longer. But it kind of goes back to that old thing of why do men even get a lot of things? It's to get things so that we don't get things that we even like. We get things that we think that women like. So like, why does a man, that old thing, why does a man get satin sheets? Not because I care about the thread count or anything or the softness of it. You get satin sheets because, right, what, like, I think Cat Williams said, why do I get why do I have head wraps or whatever? He's like, I don't care about my hair being wrapped as luxurious as it is. But he said that I get head wraps because I know women like head wraps.
He said BITC.
Well, I don't call them that, but you know what I'm saying, right? But you see what I'm saying? So or what we're saying. So those things are there. We have to be aware of it, and even like, why does a guy get a nice car? Sure, there are some guys that are into muscle cars, this and that, but what's one of the reasons you like to be around a nice car? It feels nice when you're sitting up there and you pull up, and then all of a sudden the women are looking at you in a nice car, so you figure a nice car gets a woman to be interested in you, right? But or it's like, I think Dave Chappelle once said, that we get big houses and stuff for you, but if a man can sleep in it, could whatever in a cardboard box, he'd do so. You know what I'm saying? Like, so but that's the same thing. Like, so this is why one of the reasons I always say, I keep saying, let me get myself together. I apologize. This is one of the reasons why I say to our sisters, your greatest gift and the greatest thing you should do we should be protecting this in the little girl on is being a wife. I'm not saying you can't have your business, you can't have your job, you can't say anything, you can't, quote, usurp the authority over man, unquote, or whatever. I'm not saying those things. What I'm saying is that the greatest thing that you have is being a wife. And you as a wife, you're already more precious. You're the most precious gift that any husband could have. Anybody could have, period. However, you're the most precious gift that your husband will ever have. Even be careful with that when you have brothers talking about, the best thing that I've had that I can say that's ever happened to me is my child. As much as that sounds nice, that's not true. Because guess what I'm training? Guess what I'm training? Solomon, I loved it, but he was asleep today as I was getting ready to go on the live, and I literally was just like looking at him like, man, look at my son getting bigger, and man, he's such a gift and all this. And guess what? I thought about it as I get ready to go on the live session. When he gets older, he's gonna go ahead and move out and have his own wife. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing, is making sure my child is before my wife. It doesn't even make sense. The world says that, but we don't say that, right? So the greatest gift I have is my wife, by far. And so you as a wife, that's what I'm not a father if my wife doesn't say I can't be, like, I'm not Solomon's father. As much as I have seed, it's not to buy for me to be alone, right? Without my Solomon doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? And people, oh, he's so nice, this and that. I don't get that compliment from anybody, whatever. I don't have this person that's being trained to take on what we're doing. I don't have somebody says, you guys have the same hair and this and that. I don't have any of those experiences, right? If I don't have him. And the reason he's in my life is because she's in my life and was willing to be a living sacrifice, literally, legit, right? Sacrifice herself, that he would be born. So, and so that in and of itself, right? And that's what a wife does. She multiplies. And so when we meet people, we should be looking for those type of things first before we get into these long drawn out conversations, before we start talking about how, this and that or whatever, before we start talking about what do you want. And yeah, look, even you should probably talk about sexual things and stuff before you get married, all that. But before you even talk about that, right? Because sex is marriage, marriage is sex. First things first. Like, what's the mission? You as a husband, what are you in submission to? Because whatever you're in submission to, I should be submitted to the same mission. Is that something I think I can do? Matter of fact, sometimes we should be honest in the first conversation. You know what? I don't think I might be the wife for you. I am a wife, but I might not be your wife because I don't know if that's in me to submit that type of mission, right? Like maybe you don't want a husband that's going to be traveling all over the world by himself. Maybe you don't want a wife that travels all over the world by herself, right? Like these conversations you can have. Maybe you're somebody who's highly, you know, high, I don't even know there's such thing, but you know, you have a high sex drive, say it like that. And somebody's like, hey, you know, no offense, but not really a thing where I got to have it every day like that or whatever. Or really, I need it like twice every day type thing. Well, okay. Like we need to have conversations. Like these are things that should be done. And we don't have to date, long story short, to get those things and to have those conversations. We can have those conversations easy, especially, unfortunately, many of us have, you know, lost our virginity at some point, right? Those of you who haven't, hold on to it. One of the most precious things you can have, right? Those who have lost it, you know, that can, you have a little bit of intel on that, even though well, anyways, I think we're gonna go into another place. We're already over time, but yeah. So I think these are things, you know, especially when you're meeting with somebody, the things that for whatever reason we think these are too hard hitting questions or they're too mean or they're too abrasive. No, like you're talking about for the rest of your life. And by the way, why would you date somebody 3, 4, or 5 years to figure out? You know, why would you waste that time when you could be somebody who, fine, if you're not going to be, if you're not ready for me, why would I try to figure out 5 years from now you're not ready for me? Let me just go ahead and do what I'm supposed to be doing for 5 years. So when my wife presents herself, when my husband presents himself, I'm ready. You know?
Yeah. Ask them what their VPV is. As Pastor Kofi says, what's his or her vision, their purpose, and their value. Because if they don't know those things, you can't tell them for them. And you're going to be wasting a lot of time trying to figure it out for them.
Yeah. I mean, you can possibly help somebody to come into that, but especially with the brothers, especially, you know, vision oriented is huge. And also too, we haven't really talked about it that much because it's kind of something we just think is, but don't be afraid to test out the spiritual knowledge. Like, I mean, especially with the brothers, like, because one of the things that's happened, I get it. Sometimes sisters treat pastors better than their husbands, unfortunately, and will listen to other leaders more than their husbands. And that'll be a big thing. But also, too, sometimes I have to look at the brothers and I have to be like, well, why you get with a spiritual sister and not realize you're going to need to be spiritually inclined and studying and be in your word, right? Like, you should be the person she's going to when she has a question. You're absolutely right. She shouldn't be coming to me. But are you prepared for that? To where she wouldn't leave the house for a spiritual answer. Like, I'm not saying my wife can't listen to anybody, this, that, or whatever. I don't get offended if she decides she want to listen to somebody's stuff, whatever. If she's listening, I mean, I'll be honest. Sometimes we as men, we get jealous. The Most High even says he's a jealous Elohim. So it is what it is. It's like something, you know, but you know, she can listen to whoever, but I'll say something that I'm very proud of, even if I don't know if I've ever said it this way. So, but I'm very proud that you would come to me first a lot of times. Like I think 90-something% of the time, if my wife has a question, hey, what does this say about the Bible or and history, this and that, or how does this go? She comes and asks me. And that's because she trusts that I'm going to give her an answer, and it's not going to be something that's based off of just what I want. It's not me. Even if I turn out to be wrong, I'll come to her later on and be like, hey, you know, I've been saying this for like 5 years, babe.
That's one of the things I respect a lot about you.
I think this is wrong. You know, I think we got to start telling people the truth, and I got to repent of it, you know.
Well, that's one of the things I love about you most is that you're willing to say that you're wrong. Like a lot of people,
it might take me a while sometimes, admittedly.
Well, I mean, if you find out something different, you're willing to come back and say I was wrong and correct it. Yeah.
Amen. I know we didn't get into a couple questions. I know, Brother Craig, you asked a question about the children thing, and somebody else asked a question right behind you, and so we might have missed those two, but we are over time, and got to make sure that Solomon transitions into the night. He's been asking certain questions, so we've been waiting patiently. So, but thank you guys for being on. So if you guys do have those questions still, I don't know if Elder Mind wants to join me again for a live session, probably not, but Thursday is going to be Q&A. So I can, if I get those questions before then maybe I can talk to her about them. or maybe she can just call in, maybe to discuss those questions if she's
I can call
available
in
on Thursday, and we can come back to them. So if you guys still have the same questions, or we didn't get to your questions on marriage tonight, or what we were talking about more so meeting, I guess, and how to develop these relationships and how to be ready for them. But if you have questions that we didn't get to, or something else comes to your mind, when we do Thursday Q&A, when we open up the phone lines, we'll make sure that we start as soon as we open up the phone lines. You guys are gonna have to remind me or send me the questions, or send us the questions, email, text, etc. But if you can send us those questions, even put them on the Facebook page for those of you who are part of the Facebook group. But if you send us those questions, then I'll make sure that we start right with those questions when we open up the phone lines. All right. So thank you all. That's all that I have. You have anything else for us?
No. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. And thank you for being on with us for all the Shabbat services this week, or this month, excuse me, and all the stuff that you do, the teaching, the classes, French, Shabbat school, all that. She does a lot of stuff behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. She does a lot more Zoom work, I guess, nowadays than the live sessions. But we'll be doing the special sessions now. We try to do these. We were doing these every last Sunday of every month. So whatever the last Sunday is of every month, if you just want to go ahead and pin us in for that, we'll make sure that that's going to be on there. We'll be there for our special sessions, and we just kind of talk about, different things that pop up today. Just happen to be relationship driven. But thank you all for being on. We hope you have a great night, and get some rest. I'll see you guys. We're going to be on Early Rise Bible Study session. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 6:30 a.m. Eastern New York time. Matter of fact, I need to make sure my alarm is set, but I'll see you guys then, and prayerfully we'll see you all for the live session at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. So as always, especially for our special sessions, this has been myself and my wife, Elder Maya. We are over serving to Christ, but we are always changing lives one mind at a time. Don't forget to check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Tincture of the month, even though there's only a couple days or 3 more days left after today, but tincture of the month is still elderberry. All right. And I'll try to make sure I start posting those at the end of the sessions, and start putting them on different platforms too, for you guys to look up the tinctures for each month. That doesn't mean that's the only tincture for the month. That just means that's the one that we're promoting the most, and what she's been led to promote the most. Okay. So thank you guys. Appreciate you. And so remember, as always, that you are loved. You're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. All right. Shalom. Shalom, family. Talk to you later. Peace.